Hi, my loves. Welcome to a new episode of the Gyan Dive. I am so excited to record today because I feel it has been so long since I have chatted with you guys. And well, the reason why I wasn't able to record an episode last week was because I was so busy, I was working every single day, and I went on a little trip to the Catskills, which was super fun. And I feel so like rejuvenated and relaxed. And I think that really leads into the idea of resting and how important rest is for you and how productive rest is, which is a whole nother topic. But we will talk about that another day. For today, before I get into this, I want y'all to take a slow breath with me. So let's inhale, hold, and exhale. Okay. Um, We did this because today's episode is about something that tightens all of our chests as human beings and keeps us awake at night and lives in the background of every chapter of our lives, which is uncertainty. So, we don't talk about this enough, not honestly, not gently, and not spiritually. But uncertainty is something that we live in every single day. I mean, to the fact that there's no guarantee that we'll be here tomorrow or we'll be here even the next hour. Like anything can happen at any time. There's so much uncertainty, but we never really address it, even though it's such a big part of our lives. And for me, uncertainty has shown up in so many forms: my career, in my body image, in my relationships, in moments where I thought I was losing myself, in moments when life took turns I never expected, and I'm sure it has in yours too. So today I want to share what I've learned in the process, not because I've mastered it, because let's be real, we're all learning, and so am I, but I'm just trying to give you guys my 2 cents of what I've learned this far. Because I'm learning to walk through uncertainty, one breath, one step, one surrender at a time. And the Bhagavad Gita has truly been my anchor through this process, not because it gave me like the answer that I wanted, but because it taught me how to stay steady even when the answers were missing. So let's dive in. Let's talk about uncertainty lovingly, honestly, and deeply. So, first of all, why does uncertainty scare us? So, the first truth is this: uncertainty terrifies us because it exposes how little control we actually have. Control, that's a big thing, right? I think we all want to have the illusion of control, but in reality, we're not in control of anything. Nothing is in our control other than how we choose to react, I guess. So, we think we're scared of the unknown, but really we're scared of losing our grip on the known. We want guarantees, we want promises, we want a map before we take a step. We want a future that we can predict and a timeline that we can trust. But life does not work like that, unfortunately. And Sri Krishna says it so clearly in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, Shlok 47, which is, "You're entitled to your actions, but not the results." So that line is, I think, both comforting and confronting. It means we've truly never had control, only participation. So when I look back at my own life, so many moments that broke me or confused me were actually moments that I was fighting reality, holding on too tightly and trying to force clarity before I was ready for it. Like I felt like I was trying to force a certain outcome, or like my happiness was so predicated on that thing happening that basically it was me wanting control. And that's why uncertainty feels so painful because it reveals the truth that we don't want to face, that we're not charge of it we're not in charge of everything, and that's completely okay. Yeah, that is one hard truth to accept, I think, that we simply can't control everything and that we're not in charge of everything. But it's also very freeing, I think. Um, Oh, I'm going to talk a little about the pressure of timelines because in today's day and age, and as it has always been, I think that's such a big thing, but especially now, just because I think we're constantly seeing people on social media and how good their lives are or like how on track they are. So I think that's especially relevant for right now. So we live in a world that's obsessed with timelines, right? So like you need to go to school by 22, you need to have this, by 25 you need to be married, by 28 you need to have kids, by 30 you need to be set in your career. If you're not ahead, you're behind. If you're not certain, you're failing, right? We internalize these invisible checklists. We compare, 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 right? Until we're drowning in the belief that we're late to our own lives. Like we're as soon as we hit a certain age, we think, "Oh my gosh, we're like too late to be doing this," or "It's too late to do this," or "How can I not have done this by this time?" But in reality, I feel like timelines are complete and utter bullshit, right? Excuse my language, but yeah, we've been programmed by society to have this timeline. But not everyone is going to have the same timeline, you know? So Shri Krishna agrees with that when he says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1866, abandon all paths of fear and surrender to me, meaning your worth is not tied to your timeline. So the universe doesn't use deadlines and your soul doesn't age in milestones. Your journey is not meant to look like anyone else's. And the truth is, every single delay in your life was actually the perfect timing in disguise. Yep. I believe that everything happens when it is supposed to, for you, when it's best for you. So right now, you might think, oh, like, why isn't this thing happening? Why isn't so happening? I think I should have had this by this time. But what if there's something better in store for you in the future that you just haven't gotten yet? You know, you just have to wait. So I think an example could be like a lot of people struggle with this, but especially when you're like 22, 23, like I feel like people are like settling down, finding their soulmates. But what if you're just not meant to find your soulmate at this time because you're supposed to meet your soulmate at 25, 26, and that's the right person? So would you rather just conform to the timeline and be with the wrong person, or wait till you find the person that you're meant to be with, but it's a few years later, you know? And the same can go for jobs or really anything. So you weren't ready yet, or the opportunity was aligned, or life was preparing you quietly. Even uncertainty can be divine timing. I believe in divine timing. Again, I believe that things happen when they happen for a reason, you know? Um, Now I'm gonna share a personal story with you guys that will illustrate something that I think we all have been through or we all have come to. So there was a time in my life, or there is a time in my life currently that I'm experiencing. So I'd say this topic is very relevant to me currently, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are also facing this. So, I conformed to society. I did everything. I finished school, finished college. Now, I'm supposed to have a job, right? In my head, like a year ago, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to have a job. If I don't have a job, the world will end. I was applying, got a couple interviews, didn't go anywhere. I was so disheartened, so upset with that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is not going where it's supposed to. Then the whole dark period thing happened, and that lasted till like the end of summer, right? And then I was like, oh, I continue applying for jobs to no avail. Then I was like, you know what? Like, while I'm looking for a job, let me at least start working at Starbucks, which I am. Now, is this where I like necessarily want to be or where society deems me fit to be? Probably not. But am I happy in this in-between stage? Yes. Oh, even though there's so much uncertainty, like I don't know when I'm gonna get a job, where it's gonna be, how it's gonna be. I don't know any of it. But I also, while all this time, like even when I was in college, I had a calling to start this podcast. I had this inner knowing that I should be doing this. I should be spreading wisdom and knowledge to people and connecting with people because I think that is my life's purpose. So up till this point, I didn't have the opportunity to pursue that, or I guess I didn't have the guts to. But one day, when all of this was happening, when I didn't have the job, when I didn't have whatever, I decided to start this podcast. And I think that this podcast is way more fulfilling than any job could have been for me. And that's just me personally. But so I think things happen for a reason because had I found a job right out of college, I wouldn't have started this podcast. So I'm super grateful that things happened the way they did. Even now, I don't know when I'm going to get a job, but I'm trusting in this and I'm putting my full effort into this and I'm just going to see where it goes. So even though I don't know the outcome of this or even though I don't know where this is heading, I still am content and happy, you know? So I think, again, this uncertainty is like a blessing in disguise because Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 4.7 to 4.8 says that he manifests when dharma declines, when life feels chaotic, broken, and messy. And sometimes uncertainty is exactly that manifestation. Not destruction, but rearrangement. Not punishment, but preparation. Because maybe this phase of my life is preparing me for something better that's in store for me, you know? So I truly, truly believe that whatever is meant to be will be, and wherever you are is wherever you're meant to be. And I think that once you make that mindset shift, you don't really feel upset or disheartened by anything because you know that everything that's happening is happening for you and not against you, right? And I'd like you guys to share a time in your life. Please do. Please do take the time, pause this video right now, and go to the comments and write down a time in your life where everything felt uncertain and how you coped with it or your outlook towards that, you know? I'd love to hear that in your comments. So please go ahead. Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit about the real cause of anxiety, which is the mind. So, uncertainty itself is not scary. A blank page is not scary. The unknown is not scary. It's the mind that terrifies us. So we have a prehistoric mind that can do anything for survival. So we're always thinking about the worst case scenario. We're always looking for safety and everything. That's how we're wired. So it's not really our fault. But because of this, it's the mind that terrifies us. So the mind writes stories. What if I fail? What if nothing works out? What if I make the wrong decision? What if I lose everything? Well, instead of that, what if we reframe this into what if I get everything I ever wanted? What if this is divine timing? What if I just have to wait a little bit and the best thing that is meant for me will come to me? Why not that? So, the mind creates fear when there's only possibility. So that's why Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 6.5, lift yourself with your mind, do not sabotage yourself. So this means your mind can be your sanctuary or your storm. So how you choose to train your mind to think or what direction you want your mind to go in is how the outcomes come into your life, I feel like. And that goes a little bit into manifestation. So, like, however you wire your head to think is how you'll go. Yeah, people can call you delusional. Like, for example, right now, like, I have a deep, deep inner knowing that this is the right path I'm supposed to go. But to an outsider, I may seem like an idiot. Like, oh, like, what is she doing with her life? Like, she's working at Starbucks and she's just making these videos. Like, it's not going to go anywhere. There's so many people. Like, nothing's going to take off. But again, I have this strong belief in intuition and I'm following it. So I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is follow your intuition sometimes. And obviously, people will not agree with that. People will be like, yeah, you need to be practical, you need to do this, that. But at the end of the day, it's only you who truly knows what's best for you. You know, you can take people's advice, but at the end of the day, I think it's very important to listen to your intuition because oftentimes it's right and it causes you to thrive, you know? So most anxiety does not come from reality, it comes from imagination. So one of the biggest lessons I learned was this. You don't overcome uncertainty, you befriend it. You stop wrestling with it, you stop begging for answers. You stop thinking clarity is something you can earn through suffering. So, yeah, you never truly overcome uncertainty. You never truly get over it. You simply learn to live with it, right? And that's what this whole video is about. So in Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Krishna says, Pain and pleasure come and go like the seasons, endure them patiently. So uncertainty is just a season, a temporary transition, a period of adjustment. And the moment I stop resisting uncertainty, something softened inside of me. I realized I really don't need a 5-year plan. I don't need every detailed answered and for me to know every single thing, how, what, why, how it's going to happen. I don't need to concern myself with those details. I just need to know the next right step, the next breath, the next choice, and the next moment. So sometimes it's just simply putting one foot in front of the other. And that's how you uncover your life, you know? That's how you uncover the most beautiful things that are supposed to happen in your life. So that's all life ever asks of us. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what actually helps, like some practical steps you can take during uncertain phases that might help you, kind of ease the pain or like learn how to live with it, you know? So when life feels heavy and unclear, there are a few things that genuinely bring me back home. One is silence. So just simply sitting with myself or taking a walk in nature with like no headphones and just being with myself. It cleanses the noise inside of me. So I think journaling. Journaling helps me face my truth without filters. So if I have all my thoughts written out in front of me, sometimes I can see how stupid it is, like something I'm thinking of, how stupid and how like irrational that is, for example, you know? But I can also acknowledge it and direct my mind in a different direction once I have those thoughts out. So I think journaling is a very, very good way to have those thoughts out, just so then I think sitting with my emotions without judging them. So just letting your emotions come. And I think this is really hard, even for me. Like it was hard initially. Like what do you actually mean by that? So it's just like you sit with your emotions, like you sit here and you just let them come to you. So like you let however you feel, let's say it's sadness. You just see it. You just acknowledge it. Like sadness, I see you, I acknowledge you, and that's it. And that's really all you need. Like once you're aware of it, they will simply go away. So if you sit with them and understand it, they will simply cease to exist, because emotions are temporary again. And I think another one is talking to people will make me feel grounded because I think sometimes all you need is a little perspective. I was recently listening to a podcast by Mel Robbins, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of her. She's amazing. Go listen to her if you haven't. But I used to be a religious Mel Robbins listener, and I just stopped for some reason listening to as many podcasts in the past like 2, 3 months. But I decided today, as I was on a walk, to listen to her again. And I heard this podcast about how this guy wrote a book about, you know, advice that 90-year-olds, 80-year-olds, 100-year-olds would want to give to themselves at our age as to like what they would do differently or what they should do differently. And I think that's beautiful because how can we learn only from like the people who've like lived before us and the people who've experienced life. So one is of course life is super short and you need to like you don't know how fast life will go, which I think we all kind of know, but hearing that from someone who's experienced the entirety of life is very eye-opening. The second thing was like, don't worry. So like the things you're worrying about right now will probably not matter in the future. So like one of them, a 90-year-old was telling himself like, "Oh, I wish like I was laid off from my job at one time." And I at that point was super worried about like, "Oh, how am I gonna find a job? Like what's gonna happen to me?" But like I would love to have gone back and told myself to not worry because it's simply pointless. Like what came next was even better than what I had. So I think that is super important. And so talking to people that make you feel grounded is an important one because they can tell you maybe that like, you know what, you're overthinking, like you're thinking of the worst case scenario and it's going to be okay. So instead of going into those spirals, instead of going into those loops, you just stop and like you're like, "Hey, this is stupid. Like this is not going to happen." Then there's breath work. So that includes meditation because uncertainty lives in the chest. So sometimes just letting things go in your body and doing some body work helps a lot to release untapped emotions. So I think this is one of them. Then going outside and taking a walk, like because sunlight is amazing for you, and just simply taking a 10-minute walk every day outside in the nature, even though I know it's cold right now, like you can try and like just do a simple like 10-minute walk can make you feel a whole lot better and clear a lot of things inside of you. And then doing one task instead of overthinking all of them. So I think that also helps. Like that goes into like putting one foot in front of the other instead of worrying about everything, right? But the biggest one, what is the biggest one? The biggest one is faith. Yep. So in the Bhagavad Gita 12.12, Krishna says, faith is superior to overthinking. Logic won't save you in the unknown, but trust will. That goes into surrendering. I think that's something that is very important. Like when you feel like life is uncertain, just simply surrendering to a higher power, whatever you believe in, whether that's God or spirit or whatever you believe in, just surrendering and trusting or the universe that it will happen. And I'm just letting go. I'm putting my efforts in, but I'm letting go of all possible. Um, Now I started viewing uncertainty when I realized this. Uncertainty is the birthplace of transformation. It's where old identities die and new identities bloom. It's where your intuition becomes louder. It's where your resilience sharpens. It's where your soul grows in the dark silently. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8.22, Sri Krishna says, devotion, trust leads you to the highest. So when you trust the process, uncertainty stops looking like chaos and starts looking like alignment. Nothing grows in certainty, everything grows in the unknown. It's very profound. Um, and then if you lastly like I think a reframe like a good I love a good reframe like a good mental reframe can change everything. Like what if uncertainty is a blessing? So what if uncertainty is not a threat but a gift? What if it's the universe rearranging your life, closing the wrong doors quietly, gently, without telling you? What if things are delayed because something better is being prepared? So I'd love for you guys to write down in the comments where you wanted your life to go a certain way, but life surprised you and went in a different direction, and how that was so much better than what you could have ever hoped for. Um, so in Bhagavad Gita 18.58, Krishna says, stay connected to me, you will cross all obstacles. So this means you're guided even when you feel lost, you're supported even when you feel alone, and you're being led even when you can't see the path. Sometimes we can't see things that God can for us, and it's best to trust in Him or whatever higher power, the universe that you believe in. And now, this is a soft reminder for anyone who's going through an uncertain phase in their life, including myself, so this is to me too. Um, Let me say this slowly. You have survived every uncertain moment in your life so far, and you will survive this one too. This too shall pass. You don't need perfect clarity. You don't need a timeline. You don't need control. You just need trust, patience, presence, and faith in your own becoming. Uncertainty isn't the end, it's the transition between who you were and who you're becoming. So, thank you for joining me for this deep, honest dive. And remember, you don't need to know the future, you just need to trust the moment that you're in. Until next time, Om Namah Shivaya. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead of you. And yeah, I'll see you next time.